Please bow your heads. Heavenly Father, we come to you today in humility and faith. We thank you for all you have given us and the many blessings in our lives. We ask for your guidance and strength. Show us the way, fill us with courage and wisdom. Heavenly Father, remember your love and grace and be faithful in our service to you. For all you have given us, give us the patience, the understanding to face life's challenges with grace and strength. We ask these things in your name. Fill us with courage and wisdom. Heavenly Father, remember to raise the flag. Chief, if you please lead us in the pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for the food. Smith, are there any additions or deletions?
There, we would like to, make one addition. And under consideration of old business, we would like to make the addition of the Part F grant application. And under consideration of new business, we would like to delete the draft audit. Gibson and Company has been unable to provide us with a draft. The promised delivery date has come and gone, I would say over 8 times now. I spoke with their representative this morning. I explained to him that if it is not presented by March 31st, that we will have to look for another auditor to complete the audit for this year. The Connie has already, she sent out an RFP for auditors. She's already conducted interviews. She provided me with solid feedback on all of them. Which I will present the recommendation for our new auditor April 4th, regardless of the outcome of this audit. At that point, she also spoke with the potential new auditor on the ability to complete last year's audit. And they said that they did not see a problem of being able to complete that by June, if the circumstances require. The auditor that we are hoping to secure has never delivered an audit past the due date. They've always delivered audits on time. So hopeful about this one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you all.
Yes, so one addition and one deletion.
Okay. Then I'll need a motion to approve the agenda. So moved. Give me a second, please. Thank you, Mr. Church, Mr. Hall, all those in favor? Aye. None opposed, motion carries. We're going to award the recognitions tonight, and Ms. Pearson, is anyone on to item 8, routine business, 4 items, A through D. Not hearing no objections, someone that like to have one of these items pulled out and discuss further. Then I'll need a motion to accept routine business items A through D. Motion. So moved. Thank you. Thank you, Palmer. Thank you, Mr. Church. All those in favor? None opposed, motion carries. Is Danny joining us?
He's on via Zoom. He's in Chapel Hill.
Oh, I'm sorry.
He's been at a conference.
Okay. So, for manager's report.
We've had a busy month. Actually, I chose to take the opportunity to count the number of meetings I've had this month because I feel like it's been less because of the time that I've needed to allocate towards the budget. And I've had 37 individual meetings this month in 17 working days. And there's not a lot of fluff in there. Most of them have been needed. I've been working pretty diligently on developing a balanced budget in partnership with Connie. August. She has done a really good job, and I feel like you all will be happy with the presentation on the 31st. That being said, I just wanted to make sure that everyone's calendar is cleared for March 31st and that we're going to have the highest attendance and focus. If somebody is not available for March 31st and we need to change that date, I would welcome feedback now.
Ms. Vinton, I was in my office today, and we always have a rehearsal. And I said, I remember back to my old business, that this is the Friday, day of the week, end of the month, and also last day of the quarter. So
Yeah.
some of the folks you might want to reaffirm that date, make sure it's okay with everyone, because it is not, right now is the time to speak up, and we can adjust the date. I'm fine with it. Works.
Yes, it's next Friday.
What time do you? What are the hours for that this year?
8:30. We're gonna say we'll start at 8:30 and go to completion essentially. I allocated the full day, but it really depends on,
Ms. Parsons, okay?
No, I mean,
well, I mean, here's the thing, if it's not okay, then we can switch it to the following Friday.
it's. You have to be forthright and tell them the difference in another provision for 60 days, so.
Ms. Paul, you good?
Oh, yeah, I'm good.
Okay.
Let's just get it done.
Okay. All right, we, at the community info session, I know that you all were there, but I think every single one of you was there. Attendance was great. Oh, you were? There. I thought. So we had, I thought we had really good attendance, really good turnout. Jewel wrote some nice pieces for the newspaper. And Ken, I think, did as well. The feedback we got from the info session was that people are concerned about beautification in downtown and also parking issues. I wanted to get a head nod from the board or feedback on the board. If the partnership has a beautification committee, I don't know that the turnout or the participation in that committee is strong. I didn't know if you all would be interested in us creating a quasi-official beautification committee from the town perspective. It's not going to be an official like the planning board or the board of adjustment, but we could organize a beautification committee for the town. For downtown.
I've been championing that for years, so I'm all.
All right. Okay.
If you want to.
That, I was gonna say, that can definitely be executed then. And then with regard to parking issues, Chief Thornburg has sent me some ideas. One of those ideas is our lease with Wilkes Towers, the parking lot behind Wilkes Towers has ended now. So we could allocate those parking spots to downtown residents and business owners as numbered spots. I really wanted to have some feedback about this before, to be perfectly honest, I spend the time and effort to execute it. From a conceptual standpoint, you would have a monthly fee. Rob provided some numbers, anywhere from $5 a month to $20 a month. The money would be spent would go back into downtown beautification purposes. Anybody that was found parked there that wasn't supposed to be parked there would be towed, and it would be up to the tow lot to deal with that. We would deal with like allocating the tow truck, but that would be our only responsibility with the enforcement. I didn't know. I wanted some feedback on whether you all felt like this was, a viable idea, if it could be effective. And I just kind of wanted to gauge interest levels on that, because that's really like the primary. Rob has some other ideas, but as far as like the meat of the proposal, that would be the meat. There are 25 spaces there.
Who was using those spaces prior to?
There are some folks there that live at Wilkes Towers. And there are sometimes town employees use those spaces. Although I don't think from a town employee standpoint, we park at the upper two parking lots. Any town cars that need to stay overnight, we park at the uppermost parking lot closest to the post office. And of course, we're still exploring other options. Just as far as cost versus return on investment, I'm having a hard time with solutions. But
What are we renting it then for?
I think it was like $40 a month. It was very minimal. And we haven't enforced that contract for a long time.
I like the new idea. Without knowing any details, I probably shouldn't say that, but I feel like we should try to do something. I haven't heard from several people issues and. Get $40. Like people complaining about parking downtown.
So I was gonna say, some of the issues that we as a staff recognized are downtown resident parking on Main Street. Main Street / Ninth Street business owners having nowhere to park close to their businesses. Main Street / Ninth Street business owners having nowhere to park close to their jobs. Business owners and employees are using private parking lots for public use. Which I mean, clearly that was a Brand Forte parking lot, which is now closed regardless. And downtown residents using parking lots for 24/7 long-term parking. And then the need to create more parking for visitors and shoppers.
Or $5 even times 25, that's $125 a month. You're doubling your. You take there on that line, $40 the whole month.
Yeah, so if we charge 20, yeah, oh no, if, I was gonna say, if we contracted back with Wilkes Towers, we would drastically raise but I don't necessarily know that parking lot is the closest one to. I mean, aside from the parking lot in between the police office, the police station, and Talia's, it's the closest one to downtown, and it's actually the only downhill walk to downtown within a close proximity.
What about using it for customers as a big thing?
Like putting meters in.
I don't know, I guess meters or, yeah, I guess that's all we could.
So meters are, I actually looked at a case study, up north where they figured out the cost of meters. It would actually be more cost effective to pay $40,000 for a private valet service annually to privately valet people around town than spending, $200,000 on meters, which then have to be serviced and repaired and. We know we need more parking. We know we need more parking signs. That's a given, right? Directional signs. We know that would improve some things. But I just didn't know, as far as, I was hoping for feedback on whether you guys thought the Wilkes Towers assigned parking lot for residences and local business owners was a thumbs up or a thumbs down. And if you guys just need time to think, really, like, this was just kind of an informational, like a question mark session.
Main thing is we want to make sure people have parking to go to the store downtown,
Mhm.
and that's the closest parking lot. Needed to wait on that might be wise. I'm curious to know what are the people that are against the parking meter saying to do, not every city is bigger town to go to have.
So in bigger towns, they do parking, they price it by demand. So they do a study to figure out if, say, the Main Street section in between 6th Street and 9th Street, if that has the highest volume parking, then they up the fees on those meters. So that you have less propensity to park there for longer. And it encourages more money. Right, the closer the more money. And then they tailor that down, depending on the parking area. And yes.
I got
Oh,
accosted,
that was the mayor, she used to call me.
Please.
I got accosted the other day walking in town hall by somebody on Main Street. And they said, you've got to talk to the commissioners about parking because this is ridiculous. And I said, do I look like Meredith? Do I get her salary? She said, well, no, but you need to tell them, my customers don't want to walk up the hill. And I said, well, get your butt to the commissioners and you tell them.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do have a parking problem, but it's not my problem.
Yeah.
But I
My thing is the expense of a lot of these factor, like, there is a high expense in putting meters in downtown. I feel like allocating this parking lot might be like the first step in a ladder system of steps to try to address it. You know, we do this, we see if it works, great. If it doesn't work, we'll try something else. I don't think that there's one. I mean, I've done a lot of academic reading on parking problems now, and I don't think there's one clear solution. And so I think we might need to try some different things for.
Well, you get owners off the street and you get apartment people off the street, you've got parking.
You got parking. Yeah, but, if the residents, the renters, the tenants can be identified. They can say, we have parking for you, your parking's downtown with slots, it's gonna cost you $20 a month, here's a ticket for your car. If you don't pay it, when you're late, if you're 31st day, if you're gonna get late, your car towed. And that would help, I think, for the downtown merchants.
You know, people love to live downtown. And we're getting there, we're getting on to having people living downtown. And, the last time I went to Statesville, no, it was, geez, it was the last time I went to the program, the North Carolina program, is they talked highly about that people wanted to live on Main Street and in town so badly that they're willing to walk, and they were discussing, they've been willing to walk for a lot longer than if we would walk through the hour. And you know, they wanted people to be there where the restaurants are. There were many restaurants and bars all around that. It's a cool place to get out of your apartment and go into. So we just need to make sure that we can get things like that in downtown, and we're starting to get businesses much like that we want.
Well, at that community info session, I got some people that were.
The Salisbury, yes.
At the community info session, I got some people that were like, we have a parking problem, and then I had some people that were kind of. Said that we didn't have a parking problem. That was kind of my gauge to you all, like, is it, I mean, and what I don't want this to turn into is a traffic, is what happened with the traffic flow situation. I mean, it ended up to be a ton of staff hours, a ton of staff time. And what I don't want to turn it into that.
You do it. I'm not.
I mean, but so maybe I'll come back to you guys with like some concrete numbers, some concrete proposals. I mean, I feel like if,
Do it.
can I get a thumb? I was gonna say, I'm not even gonna ask you guys to do that.
I was going to get our commission to and say, I need to come out in the same place. And then we can keep going,
Mhm.
and that park car right in front, you know, they're people in the wheelchair, what do you want to say? You know, we have to really look closely at this, and people who are involved in it outside of this board.
I spent a lot of time on this. Back with previous town manager, I spoke with majority of the business owners downtown. And majority of the residents that live above these businesses downtown, they all love it. One of the people that I thought was gonna be my biggest proponents of it was all for it. Because if you live downtown and you have the idea of no matter how many cars are parked downtown, I have my parking space that I pay. And it's 100 feet over here. I spoke with Commissioner Church about it. It's been a while back.
Yeah, I remember.
You know, because
Yeah, I didn't.
and you know, parking has always been an issue downtown, and the business owners always complain. But when you come down and you're marking tires, done this many years, I know the business owners' cars,
Oh, yeah.
you know, on the streets. So, you know, it's a hard balancing act.
You can't do it.
Yeah, it's a hard balancing act between everybody because we all want to make it better. Just like the lot beside the police department, there's a lot of people that go to Tally's for lunch. Consistently, we have 5 to 6 cars that stay there. The people that live downtown, those are their overflow cars that they don't drive every day. They drive other cars. But those cars stay there. That's 5, 6 spaces right there.
need to get that taken care of in some way.
Yeah, I mean, and then there's things in this plan, you know, one of them's no overnight parking.
Yeah.
You know, it's just as simple as a no overnight parking sign. And that keeps them from parking there consistently, well, not parking, they just leave their cars there. Some of them haven't moved in months. You know,
Yeah, if
but
you're walking at night, it's kind of creepy when you're walking by and their police car have it deserted,
Yes.
there's a police car deserted.
But my point that I'm getting at is, that is 6 more parking spaces that could come to your store, they could go to Talia's, they could go to Wombat, whatever, when they open, they could go to the movie theater. It's closer, they just walk up the steps. You know, the next level down is another parking lot on down the hill. And then they sit there and think, is the coffee really worth it?
So I will say, there were multiple components of Rob's proposal. What I don't want to deter people from, what I don't want is to put a bad taste in downtown business owners' mouth. And what I don't want is to put a bad taste in downtown residents' mouth. So, and I understand that, you know, saying no overnight parking in certain parking lots. I'm trying to walk kind of a fine line here, but I will revisit this. I think we should table the conversation for now, but I do appreciate the feedback, and that's what I wanted.
I would say you're probably gonna lose 20 parking spaces at that Wombat place. Okay,
Okay, they're already gone,
and
yeah.
those are probably 20 spaces there for the people that work there, their staff and everything.
Yeah, downtown is gonna be tight, but a downtown that's got cars and people coming and going is a healthy downtown.
Mhm.
We have to look on the positive side.
See what other towns.
And,
do.
you know,
I've seen,
mark or right or whatever we need to do, that's much better than putting blocks on tires.
Yeah.
We actually discussed that many times, nor did, and never went that far, nor do I think we should.
so, right, if you all are comfortable, I'm gonna table this for now.
Yeah.
So, the social district signage has been sent to the printers, so that, it's accessible. Taylor is actively working on an informative web page for the social district. A resource for folks that want to learn about it. And we are still waiting for notification from the ABC board.
Oh, quick, because I've had a couple of people ask. just to
Yeah.
Clarify. The cups,
Mhm.
okay? The individual businesses are responsible for purchasing their own cups, correct?
Yes,
So if you are looking for a single source supplier, that they may purchase those cups from at a reasonable charge? Or can they purchase their own cups through their source, so long as it has the logos and the proper markings on it? Is that? So which
Yes.
is it? Okay.
if either, the only reason I brought up putting or that Wilkes Custom Printing would be an option is because it's right here. And I had spoken with her about it a month or two ago. And just to make it an easy option, if somebody needed stickers right away or something like that, it was an easy and local option. But by all means, business owners can, the only thing they are required to do is use a cup that is clear plastic, 16 ounces with the logo.
And then they have to have their.
Their-
marker on it also.
Yes.
And they can get the file for the printing from us. It's available. At the April, I just kind of jammed this right in the middle. At the April 4th meeting, we're gonna have resolutions to accept 3 grants. You all know about 2 of them. The T-Mobile grant for $50,300. The AFP, which is accessibility for parks grant for $500,000 for Smith Park. And yesterday we were approved for $150,000 for Smith Park as well from the Wilson Center Foundation.
So that too.
Yes, we've gotten $650,000 in the last month for Smith Park.
What was the 150 for?
So 150 is for the pool renovation.
So that's in addition to what they gave us for the.
They gave us $100,000 for the challenge course. Yep.
Question.
Yeah, last year. And which is just been completed, by the way. I don't know if you guys have seen it. We've got some finishing touches to do, some signage and some things, but the challenge course the install was finished this week. Which is also exciting news. The deadline for the wastewater intake, RFQ is March 30th. At this point, I think we have 3 interested parties. Raw water, I'm sorry, gosh, the deadline for the raw water, intake RFQ is March 30th. I believe we have 3 interested parties that are going to submit, which is great. The deadline for fire chief applications is tomorrow. I won't begin conducting review or interviews until April for those, just because of the budget. And we need to, that is at this point higher on my priority list. Taylor and myself attended the Main Street Conference this month. 2 sessions that I took particular interest in were regarding the creation of a municipal service district and a session on Rails to Trails. Rails to Trails is a national organization that advocates for unused rail systems to be turned into active trail systems. So I'm going to be contacting their national, I met at the conference there, the rep from the national organization, and I'm going to be contacting her about that. Multiple staff hours this month have been dedicated to FanFest. The landing page that was developed in partnership by Thomas, Sally, Taylor, and Francisco of the EDC is now live. I would encourage you all to check it out. I can send you a link for it. It is full of race week info. It's serving as kind of a common landing page for all things race week, right? Camping and fan fest and race events, and just from an outside perspective, if you come into our town and you want to know what's going on that week, you can go there, look at it. It's one central page with the county's information, Wilkesboro's information, our information, everybody's together. Which is why it's been a collaborative effort. I've also, I'm actually finishing up tomorrow. I've been exploring the option of using Enterprise as a contracted agency for our fleet services. They should have their final feedback for me tomorrow as far as the dollar amount. I'm interested to see what they have to say. They quoted some things for the police department, and now they're doing a quote for our entire fleet. Outside of things like our fire trucks, our pumper trucks, you know, our trash trucks and things like that. When we say fleet, we mean small vehicles. Yes, I was gonna say through Enterprise, we would be leasing our vehicles. That is the entire manager's report that I would have for tonight. I would now welcome any emerging issues.
I have a question, I guess it's directed for Taylor. On April 1st, which is the bike thing downtown.
Mhm.
I'm speaking more from me being a business owner than I am a commissioner right now. To be honest with you, the first I heard of this was at the event last week. And so my assumption is we are closing what streets downtown? And how will our customers, because it's supposed to be an all-day event, correct? So how are my customers, you know, and you say, how is this different than Apple Festival? Apple Festival puts people on my street. I'm not sure that bicycles, people riding around downtown, how do my customers get to me for that whole day? Am I to just assume that I'm writing that whole day off? From a business standpoint. Like I said, the first I'd heard about that bicycle event was last Thursday. And so I'd like to know a little more about it. What is the plan to not cut every business in downtown off that day? What are your thoughts?
Well, this is a health foundation event, so there's that first.
Well, my question is we're closing our downtown street, correct?
Correct.
Did I miss a meeting? Was there something brought up at a meeting that the Health Foundation requested this, that from the board? I'm just,
Crystal.
I asked her last week.
Yeah, Crystal, I was gonna say, this was actually organized before either Taylor or my tenure. Crystal focused on this project before Taylor joined us.
and don't get me wrong, Taylor, I'm not trying to, I'm just. My thing is I'm all for events in downtown, but. There always needs to be contingencies because. Saturdays can be good days for me and I don't mind something happening like, for example, the car show. The car show, it used to be up here on Main Street, but I still had people that could get to my business even when they were here on Main Street. But I don't know what, like I said, somebody needs to tell me because if there's not going to be the availability for my customers, I'm always gonna be just closed. Why should I pay staff? Why should I?
Just go ahead and tell me what streets you're gonna close. So people get your business computers.
So it'll be Main Street from 6th to 10th. 10th Street from Main to D. C Street from 10th to 9th and 9th Street from D to Main.
I was gonna say,
Pretty much the whole downtown.
yeah,
I mean, if 9 and 10 were closed, it might be okay, but.
Now, are we gonna remove all cars from the street? We didn't do it during Apple Festival. You couldn't even get, I mean, it's supposed to be off the street, but people not moving the car.
So Kirsten and Brad have been in communication about that situation in the road closure. I've been looped in on it. They're planning to close the streets
10 o'clock.
at 10, yes. Mhm.
Have they got, they're not agree, deal? And when was it real?
7 o'clock.
7 is the latest that that's what they've requested to be closed off. 7, but the event is only supposed to go until 4.
And this is gonna be children and adults, both, so we're gonna have to be really careful. And I'm concerned about that. But we never had this type of event. And the new events are, sometimes you learn a lot and you realize, these are different, should have done, did it better than what the last one.
So are we, okay, and I guess I've probably started this whole conversation wrong, and I apologize. First of all, Taylor, I don't know, okay. So tell me what exactly is the debt, because from that thing last Thursday, what I garnered from it was they're encouraging people to bring whatever wheeled vehicle, as long as it's not motorized. And
It's a-
ride around downtown, but I mean, are there gonna be vendors set up, or they're gonna be, I mean, are you encouraging people to come in and walk around and have stuff to look at? I mean, what is the event?
So it's a car-free event to promote healthy and active lifestyles. So there's going to be CrossFit classes, Zumba classes. There's going to be different stations for activities. So the event's being kicked off with a bike parade. So kids are going to decorate their bikes. I think the art gallery is doing that. Should have brought an event map. I picked them up today. Oh,
I was gonna say, so, they're gonna, across the course of the day, there will be 5 different exercise classes at the Brush Up Russian Park. They are going to have a movie I was gonna say, there's like a little movie icon. I don't know, so do you interpret this a bit now?
maybe.
So, was gonna say, they're having events at the Liberty Theater, I was gonna say, they're having, bike demos, they're having a traffic garden, they're having a toddler zone inclusive play. They're setting up a pickleball court, which is, where is that going? Oh, I was gonna say, all right. They are having an obstacle course, a bicycle station, water stations. They anticipate a really good, busy downtown turnout.
They projected this in the community, what ways?
So it's been in the newspaper, I know, it's been on social media a fair amount, I know.
I picked up banners today and yard signs to put out.
This really, it really is a Health Foundation event, but while it is in our downtown, it is a Health Foundation event.
But Michael, I do welcome your concerns as a commissioner and a business owner, because since I've started, and particularly with this event, I've been looking at how people request road closures and special event policies and things like that, and I feel like we need a better system.
Well, and the truth is that I probably should have brought this up differently than I did, but it's just, it kind of caught me off guard, and it, you know, because like I said, this is.
So I think that Taylor and I were both a little surprised that, I mean, it was planned far in advance, all of this was before.
Me.
Well, I was gonna say, the actual event was put in place. I mean, over a year ago, or like.
Sometime last spring or summer.
Yeah, before, I mean, the road closures and all of that happened before us. Which really raised some questions in our mind about how we set these policies, how the policies are executed, if we're treating people equitably. Which is actually, I reached out on the listserv within the last couple of weeks about relationships between towns and event organizers and where the burden should lie. We've had some constructive feedback from the Russian Mountain Rotary Club about the cost share contract that we have with them for the Apple Festival. And so I sent out a notice on the listserv to get more feedback in that regard, because we want to encourage individuals to be in our downtown, and we don't want to have policies in place that are antiquated or outdated. So Taylor and I have definitely been exploring a lot of these things, and we've been talking about, she's a flow chart for how road closures are supposed to occur. But we both feel strongly that it should be well publicized, and the working knowledge of it shouldn't just be in someone's head.
I share his concern. When I first heard about it, it was not very, I heard the term Sokovia or whatever they're saying.
Yeah,
for a long time. I thought it was like, Mike. And when I found out what it was, the first thing that came to mind was like, if we're closing Main Street 9 to 10, how's anybody gonna get their businesses? And not that people can't ride their bike there, but say that a lot of businesses are probably needing business right now, and one Saturday, you go out, it's probably not good enough.
Just gonna stand open all day, praying whatever. I'm gonna do my best to make sure my doors are open. They are feeling like they're this and that, they're in your room, they're up and down the street. You come in and actually visit business. Somebody are giving out a little, these are the businesses that I think you can within this district area that people can be more aware of, which I'm sure you've probably done that. I'm just looking at it as possible.
Well, it may be positive.
Yeah.
We don't know.
Wonderful deal.
Might be negative too.
Well, yeah, but, you know, so why don't we make the best of it while we can? We don't know if adults gonna come down and patronize, Michael's store, City Floors, your store.
It's the first
We
time
don't
this
know.
event's ever been
So let's
held, right?
have a postmortem. Yeah. We'll decide if it worked, or it didn't work.
Yeah.
If it does, we can do it again.
Yeah, we'll set it, we'll set on Main Street.
Yeah, it is.
We'll set on, yeah.
Your, so that is not, the one thing that I'm in your, as your tenure goes forward, is like I said, I've been in on this corner for 37.5 years. I didn't need to learn about the event 2 weeks before it happened.
Absolutely.
Oh, well, they've been a very.
It's true, but also in your defense. It is not a town event,
It is
the
not.
town disposal, it's a health foundation. Mike, I see your point, I really do.
Well, I mean, but the thing is, Mark, is if in that regard, if it's a town event, then it should,
It's not.
as a commissioner, closing the streets should be part of the commissioner's
I understand.
position to know that that's it.
Does anybody have a hand in here with the town health foundation in this room to close the streets? No.
Then we close the street.
That happens since I've been on this
So,
board.
so
I asked you.
he does, but his name is after the chief. And so can we,
Okay,
see what's like afterwards?
Yeah.
And then make a decision whether this is a good thing or a bad thing, and don't have, forbid the use of our streets, they can go to Wolfboro.
Mark, you're.
Like tonight, and I don't mean to interrupt, but like tonight, in the consent agenda, you've got an ordinance declaring a road closure for Fan Fest. You also have the road closure for the summer concert series. I'm thinking there may have been an ordinance done back some time back with Crystal. I will go look for it as soon as this meeting's over.
That was my question.
I'm wondering.
I'm under the impression that we did.
And-
I would say I would not physically see the paperwork, but I was under the
Well-
strong impression that we had.
We haven't closed it, we still get people to close it or not.
Yes, but I feel strongly that it has been, Chris, yeah. No, I was gonna say, I'm gonna, yeah, trying to.
All right, move forward.
I think moving forward, we just see the success of the event and hopefully it'll be wildly successful. They have, and we'll see how it goes. I mean, we can't find new downtown events without trying. Any more emerging issues?
I want to hit on that one more time. I think another thing that could help this situation from happening again is in the future, just when we have street closures, board needs to know what we're closing for, and have a clear idea. Obviously, nobody up here knew that.
I am not trying to poke any hornet's nest, but Cyclovia has actually been mentioned multiple times over the last 3 months. Like multiple times. I have mentioned that Taylor was working on Cyclovia and then it was a downtown bike event.
Well, obviously, nobody knows what's.
I was
So we're working on it.
Yeah.
I'm very aware.
and I mean, maybe never. I'm gonna, I appreciate the feedback. It is noted. We
I
have,
apologize to the board for bringing it.
No problem.
any more emerging issues?
Yeah,
Okay, great.
one, I know they're getting ready to fix that spot near the chicken feed down there, they cut the pavement, Dave's group.
Yes, we're doing that. Yeah.
Has he mentioned to you anything about what they can do to that drain? Because I almost wonder where that drain gets stopped up and it pulling up is maybe what messed the pavement.
So what messed the pavement up is settling over time of, but the drain gets clogged with leaves, which is really more of a maintenance issue. It is tied into another storm drain down there. Neither of them are collapsed, they flow.
I look at it, it's a pipe about this big and it just runs to that ditch that goes this way. I'm just wondering if it needs a bigger pipe or a grate over it or something, because it does get stopped up. And I think when it gets stopped up and that water pulls back, that can't be helpful.
No, it's not. Moving, I have been very clear with the streets department that we want to fix it correctly the first time. So we need to, whether that means upsizing the drain that's in it, or whether that means cutting out the concrete to a larger footprint, or whatever that means, clearly that those fields are utilized regularly during baseball season. And I'm hopeful that they'll be used more regularly year round. And so we wanna fix it right the first time.
Cause I mean, I've cleared it out, 2 years ago, so it's not a new issue. I'm saying while we're working on it, let's get it right.
Yeah,
And
I agree.
another thing, when I talked to you about it, mentioned to the board, this may be way over the town. But, somebody brought it to my attention that the state has a thing where when you see a pothole, you can report it. Any chance we could do something like that?
It's funny you should mention that. I actually have been looking at the North Carolina DOT's reporting system. To try to figure out a model that we could use that's similar. They have a really good pothole reporting system. And I think that could, you mentioned this previously, which planted the seed, of course, but, and then I was talking to another, individual who, sent me to the North Carolina DOT website because they like the system that they use. I think it would be excellent if we could get a system where, if we have 8 people contact us about one pothole. It moves higher in the priority list than one that only has one person mention it. Of course, that would be gauged based on, like us actually looking at it and figuring out the issue. But I am very open to that, and you mentioned it to me last week, so I haven't done it yet, or not.
Yeah, I just wanted them to know that. 'Cause I feel like
Yeah.
they have to fix them if they know they're there. They probably just.
I'll tell you what,
I think a lot of it is they just don't, they can't be everywhere, so they don't know.
they fixed several potholes, but the street boys have been grinding out the high spots in the sidewalk, which makes it safer to walk on, which I think's a good thing.
We actually also talked about grinding a small portion of the 2 speed bumps on Sixth Street off a little bit. But we're gonna have to potentially rent a machine, we're not removing them, we're just grinding off. They're very abrupt, the top 2.
All down.
Well, not all the way gone, but like, they're right now. I don't,
I don't think a lot of them, I don't go there.
yeah, the bottom one isn't bad, but the top 2 are pretty stout. Yeah.
Good question. That machine, you and I rode up and down those things, they were knocking off the grounds last year. Where'd that machine come from? Is that a rental? You remember?
I think
I thought the town owned that.
They did.
they said that the machine they had was labor intensive and that it would not. I was asking them to shave about 2 inches off of it. And that- Well, but you have to do cost versus effective. If it's $200 to rent a machine, is that worth 3 days of guys working? Or is it, you know what I mean? I wanna make sure that we're not spending $2,000 in labor time when we could spend $200 in equipment time.
Keep this in mind, Keith and I were driving down those bumps. They grind it, and we drive over them again, grind it, we fell at that time, and, we're okay. But you can tell, it's short amount of time.
I thought they did it pretty quick.
Yeah, they did.
I literally just had this conversation with David Webb, so.
David Webb wasn't there that day, was
No, Mike should.
She might see you there, but you guys.
He told me he'd check into it. Yeah, I mean, he told me he'd check into it, I assumed he would. I can go back to him. But I mean, like, there's.
There's one that I got called.
Mhm.
Twice, on 610 6th Street, right across from the church. There's a big piece of sidewalk missing, biker and also a lady who walks a lot. And it's not us, it's Frontier Gas, it's also another place, similar to that, north on 9th Street up here. Yeah. And Danny Webb's been in contact, they got a new guy to do this stuff, and they're gonna get on it next week, and that one hole's been there about a year. And I can't believe those folks left those gaping holes there, just for liability, old people walk down there to go to church.
Mhm.
That went up on that street, standing for a while. I think they're gonna hear around that.
So that's a spot.
Any more emerging issues?
Anyone have any?
I think we found me too.
Oh, yeah, nothing too, I want to say something also. The packets aren't as thick as it used to be. But consent, it's increased. There's a heck of a lot going on upstairs. And it's not a reflection on what's being worked on without being done. A lot of things are, well, we're just gonna go ahead and take care of it, previous.
some things made it onto the agendas and the issue when it was over, it was, well, thank you, Captain Obvious, of course, you're for this, or, whatever, so. There is a heck of a lot going on, I can assure you with that.
I can give you an example of that, if that would be.
Yeah, well, that's.
So, we had a building in downtown that was inspected today. The planning department came to me and said, we have two choices. We could go to the Board of Commissioners and proceed with an order to close, or John Gaines can write a letter with the order to close. He said it's really just about publicity, if you want to go in front of the Board of Commissioners, or you can go the quiet route and you could bring it up after it happens, you could bring it up at a board meeting and point out that it has happened. And that's kind of the difference in management styles, I would say. I want you all to be informed, and I am gonna start doing a mid-month bulleted email for you all, but I don't feel like you all necessarily need to be bothered with administrative minuscule. I mean, like minutia, administrative minutia. I really feel like you all should be focusing on our vision and how to move us forward and major community issues. Which is what I hope we'll be focusing on.
How many years have we tried that? 3 or 4, that building? 3, 4, is it finally gonna do something?
It was, so that building, the H21 Main Street has received a roof in the last 2 months. All but 2 windows have been, cleanly boarded up. The interior has been, the top floor has been cleaned of debris. The middle floor and the lower floor are being cleaned of debris. But my message to the staff is to approach empty buildings in our downtown as aggressively as possible within the parameters of the law.
I think that's, like, my opinion, the opinions of merchants, need more in this case, because it's going on with it. But that's something we can't allow to deteriorate any further. Because if this reaches the point of no return, I'm not kidding, I've seen it happen. Where a building is condemned, then it has to be torn down, it's uninhabitable, guess who eats that?
The town.
Town bus. And then, if you have a big gaping hole right next to your business, or it's an eyesore, obviously, to rebuild it, it has to be done to the current code, to nothing. His grandfather did, grandpa's did.
Yes,
So the cost to rebuild is prohibitive.
it would turn into a pocket park.
Yeah, so.
We're parking. You're right.
Well, these things happen, aggressively.
Another point with regard to the difference between John Gaines, our code enforcement officer, sending a letter, and the board would have to wait until April 4th to move forward, whereas John Gaines can send a letter today and start that time clock clicking today.
Perfect.
So those are the kind of decisions that are being made that I feel like, and regardless, it being brought in front of the board, it's not necessarily a decision, it's more of an informational session. Because the next step in the process is to close the building.
Well said, Ms. Miller. Any questions or any more comments from Ms. Miller?
How's it going with code enforcement? Do you feel like that they got the resources they need, or do we need to make like this year?
I feel like currently, so one of my goals for this coming year is, as I've been saying, to get the trains running on time. And I feel like they have, while the resources are limited, I think they are trying their best to work within the confines of what they have. I don't think, I think as far as priorities go, they have the resources they need currently. I think that's the way I would phrase it. I think as far as y'all's priorities, I think that they have the resources they need. He is actively pursuing 3 buildings in downtown right
He's always done a really good job.
I agree, I think he's, well, 2 years is best I've seen.
And I do think, focusing more resources on code enforcement versus focusing more resources on things like facade grants and incentives, and do we want to penalize those that aren't doing things well, or do we want to encourage those who could make things better? You know what I mean? I think that that's a fine line that we have to walk. But I would say, from my own personal perspective, I think that we should incentivize new growth and new potential versus, I mean, I think that we should keep up with code enforcement, of course, and I really am an advocate for our non-residential building standards. I think they're going a long way in our community of making changes. But I do think, I think it's important to incentivize new business and current business.
Yeah, nobody wants to drive through a town that has, you know, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyone else have anything else? This is.
Yes, I got something.
Okay.
Helping to the town employees. And I talked to a lot of street boys, making guys and all. And the attitude now has changed 180 degrees. I've never seen the attitude of the employees in this town as dedicated to this town as they are, as happy as they are right now. And I've been doing this a long time.
That's good to hear. I was gonna say, we have some structural changes that will be introduced at the board retreat that I've already talked to both the streets department and the Parks and Rec department about, that I'm hopeful will allocate resources in a manner which keep the trains running a little bit more smoothly. And I think that's probably part of it. I did need to talk to the employees first, just to, because I have not been here long enough to know what will work. Because I mean, you have to know about the execution of it, right? So not that I've been, I think I mentioned it to several of you already, but hopefully, fingers crossed, we're gonna keep improving that morale. You know, giving them what they need to do their jobs successfully.
I like our shiny new garbage truck, by the way.
I was gonna say, we need to figure out what we're gonna put on it. We've been talking a lot about it. We thought about,
The garbage truck. Oh, the new garbage truck?
yeah,
I think pretty, it's don't use, just keep it clean.
yeah. We've talked a lot about, taking community feedback about what we want to put on it, but we haven't necessarily put it high on our priority list yet.
Your fish fry, love it.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
They're tickled to death with the new truck. I know that.
Not hearing anything else, let's start things off.
I'll make a motion.
I'm sorry.
We have to continue on. Yeah.
Apologize, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you again. Congratulations.
Oh,
We
yeah.
got this little part in thing. we gotta-
Yes.
Sorry. This minute, yeah.
No, I'm old. We talked about it the last one. I'm to take it away.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
We have decided not to pursue part F this year. We plan to pursue part F next year. The part F grant application goes to the same board that we received the AFT grant monies from. The same board is reviewing it. Moreover, we have learned in the last 2 months that the pool would not be eligible for upgrades through Part F because it was the pool received Part F funding in 2006. And their cycle is not eligible at the current point. So, and we're in phase 2 of the revitalization of Smoot Park. Phase 2 is the pool and the pool house. When we want to do new / expand existing assets like the skate park or like the there are other things that are a part of that plan. We would like to pursue part F, but because also during the review of the AFP application, we heard comments from board members like, didn't they just get part F? You know, and so I don't want to put us at a disadvantage and put in the work and effort towards that grant application when I know we already are at a disadvantage. Moreover, we will lose points because we don't have a master plan for our parks. We have a master plan for Smoot Park, but in order to receive maximum points, we have to have a master plan for the parks. And because we don't have that in place, we're also at a points disadvantage. So when I start looking at, I just don't feel like it's an opportune time to pursue it currently. Next year, we will pursue it. We are also going to pursue multiple other grant opportunities moving forward. But this,
We would put a master plan in place.
we just have to allocate the budget money, which we'll talk about next week, and then we need to contract with a Weathered Ravenel or a Destination by Design or somebody of that nature to design a park master plan. They don't, while you can do one in-house, it really doesn't gain you the points that you need. Also, another points deduction is if you don't have a CIP, which we don't really have, which is another thing that we put in the budget for the coming year. All of these things are in an effort to make us more competitive to grant makers and also to get us a roadmap for our fiscal, our financial spending for 3 to 5 years.
I need that.
Yeah, we definitely, I really want to do a strategic visioning and then tie that into the CIP. So that we not only have a financial plan, but and a capital piece plan, but we also have a strategic plan to keep us in, to keep us in our lane, right, moving forward. A strategic visioning is a long process. So I've talked with a couple different companies about doing a truncated version. Just to kind of get us moving, because the strategic visioning usually takes about a year. And it's really staff labor intensive, not out of house labor intensive. But, and not that I don't welcome that, but I think we need a jump start in that regard, in my opinion.
Sorry to interrupt you.
You're fine.
Is there any updates on fixing this new park pool?
We have, I mean, we just received $150,000 towards it. In the budget, at the budget retreat, you'll hear more about how we anticipate funding that. My hope is that we do both the pool house and the pool repair starting this fall, where we won't have to be down a season and that they can be completed by next spring. I know that is,
Amazing.
well, that is maybe a little bit lofty of expectations, but I think if we don't aim high, we won't get high. Oh, gosh. Oh, my goodness. Aim high, we won't attain, yes. I apologize. Didn't mean that. So, but we. But we need to have high expectations for us so that we can meet high expectations, right? So the hope is that we won't be down for an entire season and that we'll only have one more season with the leagues the way they are.
But I thought we were not going to be spending at all.
This summer,
Yeah.
we'll be swimming.
There's a point, especially maybe prior to
Yeah.
your tenure. Yeah, but we just, we always see, you don't know how many times.
I mean, I've talked with,
That's fantastic.
well, I've talked with Nelson about it and the plan is to have the pool up and running all summer. And then to start construction on the pool house and the pool this fall. Yes, yeah. That's the plan. I was unaware that.
Still blown away that pool is 20,000 gallons a day.
I have a hard time believing that. You would have to 3 hoses in it running constantly to keep it.
It got it pretty big.
Yeah.
No.
I don't know. It's on the new room. Dude,
Yeah, they do.
I didn't see it at the end of last summer. So I thought,
Not at first thought, maybe that's just the way the pool is.
no.
Anything else, folks?
No, but that is why we, I do need a motion to, yeah, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we cancel the April 4th public hearing for the Park F application.
Thank you, Mr. Parsons. Now, second. Thank you, Mr. Church. All those in favor? None opposed, motion carries. Thank you, Michael. Mr. Parker. It's now people. Well, you set this with, or this one?
Oh, yes, yep,
If no one has anything else, then,
I make a motion with your.
thank you, Mr. Stewart, second, please. All those in favor? We're adjourned.